Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back. Kellen here with Droid Life. So Galaxy S7, our review is done. You can check it out right there if you want. In it, we talk about the good, the bad, whether or not this phone is one of the best ever made. And spoiler alert, it probably is. If you've read that and you've picked one up or you're deciding to pick one up, this video here is what's next. And we're gonna start talking about how to get the most out of your phone. And we typically do that with most flagships. So here we go. This is 20 tips and tricks for your Galaxy S7. All right, so I think the first place we would start is with the camera quick launch. So as you guys know, Samsung phones have some of the best cameras in the business. And in order to launch it quicker than just about any other phone, Samsung has given you a double tap on the home button or double click of the home button, and that launches the camera. You can then take pictures of your hand. You can do that from anywhere. So not only can you do it from the home screen where your phone's locked, you can do it from, say, inside Chrome if you want to take a picture of something. So you can do it at any time, just double tap on that. In order to enable it, you want to go into camera settings, and there is a quick launch shortcut right there. So that would be tip number one. Number two, I would say set up fingerprints with your index and thumb fingers. So that home button still on there doubles as a fingerprint reader. So you can unlock it with your thumb, or you could unlock it with your index finger is my suggestion anyway. Now you can set up to 4 fingerprints, and why I suggest setting up both is because when you're holding your phone like this, it's really easy to unlock with your thumb. But if it's laying on a desk, it's a little bit harder to get your thumb in there. So if we set up index fingers, you can unlock it just by doing that. Now I have thumbs and index on both fingers set up, so I've taken up my total of 4, but just something to keep in mind. The next thing would be smart lock, and I thought I had it enabled, but it doesn't seem to be working. So smart lock, if you're in a location or you have a Bluetooth headset attached or a watch or something like that, you can allow your phone to bypass that fingerprint security. So right now you can see I don't have smart lock enabled, and so I have to either hit a pattern or password or use a finger unlock. But if I were to go into my lock screen security settings and go into secure lock settings, there's an option for smart lock. And in this option, and we try to tell this in every video we do, we tell you to go in here and set some of these up. So you can see I have trusted places for home, so that when I'm at home, that fingerprint lock usually is never asked for. Now it is right now because I'm in airplane mode. But I also have trusted devices. So my Bluetooth headphones that I run with, I have those set up so that while I'm running, I pull my phone out, I don't have to use fingerprint or unlock. It just is always unlocked with just a swipe. You can also set up your voice and on-body detection and stuff like that. But smart lock is just one of those things you should really take advantage of. It allows you to keep your phone secured with a fingerprint or lock screen, and then it allows it to bypass it then during those convenient times. The next thing I want to show you is always on display. So with your always on display, if I can get to it, this is the mode where it shows you at all times the clock, battery percentage, and the date. Or you could even have calendar information or a background image or something like that. But you'll find it in settings, display, toggle that little thing on, and this is what it looks like. When your phone is asleep, you can see there I now have the time, date, battery percentage. It even shows missed calls. Now, always on display is not my favorite feature in the whole phone, but it is something that could be convenient if you look at the time multiple times throughout a day, or you want to keep track of that battery percentage. Unfortunately, it only shows a couple of notifications from Samsung apps, so you're not going to see Hangouts and Gmail and all those other icons you probably wish to have on here. So up to you if you want to use it, but if you're a clock person, you may want to consider it. All right, so the next thing I would suggest then is putting an SD card in here and even considering moving some apps over to it. So if we jump into settings and go down to storage, you'll see in here I do have an SD card, and I have a whopping 200 gig SD card in here. That is what this phone supports. But why I'm suggesting you toss one in is because in the US, at least as of today, you can only buy 32 gig models of the Galaxy S7 or S7 Edge. That's a little bit of storage, but it's not enough for most of you for 2 years worth of use. So you can see I'm already using almost 20 gig of my internal storage. So I don't have much left, which means I need to install an SD card. So you do that up here, and we have a whole video on this, but there is an SD card slot in your SIM tray. You can put your SIM and SD card slot in there. And again, it holds up to 200 gigs, so you can actually hold a lot. So the one thing you need to keep in mind there is that if we go into our applications and we go into Application Manager and you find some apps like, say, the Alaska app, which is almost 30 megs, some of these you can actually move over to your external storage, which would be your SD card. So if I go in and change, I can actually change that to SD card, and it will then move the Alaska app over to my SD card and stop taking up 30 megs worth of storage on my internal storage. Now, it does take a little bit of time here, but you can see now it's listed as external storage. So just something to keep in mind in order to expand that storage just a little bit longer. Let's see. So I did want to point out that when you're changing your wallpaper, your lock screen, you can actually set its own wallpaper, and you can actually do something a little bit cooler on it where you can rotate through a series of images. So if you go in to change your wallpaper through settings, you'll notice this little drop down up here that says home, home lock screen, or lock screen. If you just choose lock screen, it'll allow you to choose that. Now, if I go in here and tap on some images, so I've got a whole bunch pulled up from my Google Photos, or actually just my internal gallery. Now I can just start selecting these, and you can see it'll put them up top, and we don't necessarily want 3 of the same photo, but I can scroll through this and choose, I believe it's upwards of 5 different photos. So if I do that, and then I click done, that will then set my wallpaper. And so now, if I lock my phone, you'll see there's a wallpaper. And if I lock and unlock again, it should start changing, and there it goes. And so each time you unlock your phone, or at least wake up your phone, I should say, it changes wallpaper. So it sort of cycles through those, and you can only do that on the lock screen. So it's something just to keep in mind there to add some customization there. So if we jump back in though, the other thing I would say here from the home screen is long press in here and really get into adjusting these settings. So you can swipe over, add new panels. If you have a bunch of bloated up stuff from your carrier on here, this would be the area where you can drag and drop panels to remove those. Flipboard briefing is off to the left. This is where you can turn that off or on. I typically like to turn it off. In here though, this is also where you're going to find your list of widgets, which unfortunately scroll horizontally. Your wallpapers, you can actually adjust screen size in here as well. You can see I actually have mine set as 5 by 5, which just allows me an extra row of icons, which is nice. But if you don't need that many, you can drop that to 4 by 4, 4 by 5, which is kind of nice. From there, I would then go into the theme store. So with Samsung's phones in recent years, they've added a whole entire theme store. You can see I've got a handful downloaded here, but if we go into more themes, it takes you into a whole store where you can find themes for St. Patrick's Day, or golden themes, or stuff that has more of a neon effect. There's minimal themes and dark themes, and material design inspired themes. And there's a whole bunch of stuff in here. A number of them are free, some of them are paid, but you can really sort of adjust the way your phone looks by doing this. I personally am not a huge fan of the way Samsung's default skin looks, and this really allows you to change some of that, which is kind of cool. Another thing to keep in mind is screenshots. Now, screenshots have been the same on Samsung phones forever. We want to make sure everyone knows how to do it. And to do that, you just press power and home down at the same time and hold it for a couple seconds, and then it takes a screenshot. So one thing, and it's sort of tough to see here, is when you take a screenshot, and I'll show you down at the bottom, Samsung is now letting you do some quick adjusting. So there is a share button, a plus button, and let me do that one more time to show you the other one, and a crop button. So if I tap on crop, it then allows me to adjust the screenshot I just took. If you do the plus button, it allows you to continue to scroll downwards and grab more screen rather than just what you're seeing. And so they've allowed you to take screenshots and then edit them quickly, which is something you haven't necessarily been able to do in the past. So if we jump back into settings, you may have noticed, if we can get that to open, there we go. You may have noticed I have all these shortcuts up top. So I would strongly consider adjusting those. They can do up to 9, and they really come in handy. So application manager I deal with a lot for uninstalling apps. Your theme shortcut, I have a display shortcut, fingerprint shortcut, my battery in case I want to check the percentage there, and a little edit button up in the top right here allows you to just check the boxes for the ones you want. And again, you can have upwards of 9. While we're talking about settings adjustments or customization, I'm going to turn Wi-Fi back off. You can adjust all of these quick toggles up here. So by default out of the box, they may not be in this order. Yours may look different. So in order to adjust those, hit the little arrow up here to expand it all the way down. And then there is an edit button. And from this edit button, you can grab, drag, and rearrange these however you see fit. If there's some that aren't showing, you can drag these around and put them in a different order. You can drag these in a different order, and obviously the first few that you have up there are the ones that are going to show when you first pull that down. There's also some quick connect options you can toggle off and on in here as well. But if we hit done, you'll see they're all in there, and they're all in the order I just left them. If we move this arrow up, there's your limited version. Expand that down, you have more shortcuts. So really get in there and rearrange these so that you can efficiently take advantage of a lot of this stuff. Next thing I'd like to show you is the do not disturb setting stuff. So if we jump into notifications and we let that load, actually it's not in notifications, it's in sound and vibration. You'll see there's a do not disturb mode. So do not disturb mode is essentially a mode that allows you to turn your phone into silent or do not disturb at certain points in the day. Now you can turn this on manually off and on. It'll go into do not disturb and not get notifications through and make sounds and all that stuff when you need it quiet. I would suggest setting up a schedule. So I have mine set for Monday through Sunday. It turns on at 11:45 p.m. and turns off at 6:30 a.m. the next day. So essentially during that period it's on, I don't get notifications, and so I don't have constant buzzing and dinging and things like that. Now you can set up some exceptions where only alarms will get through, or if you have repeated callers, assuming it's an emergency, somebody's calling you over and over again, those will get through. Or you can just let calls from your favorite contacts through and favorite messages or messages from them and things like that. So you can really customize this. I really think it comes in handy so that every time at night you don't have to remember to silence your phone in case you forget, you wake up in the middle of the night being destroyed by notifications. So if we still in settings here and we jump into applications, setting your default applications is a pretty good idea. So if we touch on that, now default applications are things like when you open a link from within Gmail, it's going to ask you, do you want to open it in Chrome or Samsung's browser or something else? So if you were to set Chrome, this is where you would adjust that. Or if you want to adjust the calling app for placing calls or sending text messages or whatever your home screen might be. So those are all adjusted through here, and you can just tap one of those and tell it which one you want to be your default. And then you can do that. Now, your other apps, say your email apps and things like that, are going to show up in this other set as default screen. And if we kind of scroll through here, you can see like I use Google's Calendar over Samsung. So it actually says set as default. But if I wanted to clear it, I could go in here and clear that default. So just a way to manage your applications better. The next thing I would show you then, since we're sort of in this application area, is in the application manager. So in here, you'll see like with Amazon, I have that app disabled. So if you buy your S7 through a carrier, you probably have what we call bloatware, which is apps that you didn't want installed but are installed. So you can just go in, tap on those, and there's a disable button for the ones that you want to disable. So this one I would obviously have to enable, but I've already disabled it, and they're listed in here, and you can disable, enable all you want. It's not really that big of a deal. Still sticking in settings. So if we jump back here, and there's this section called advanced features. Now, I would highly recommend going in here and just sort of looking at what each thing is, because some of them you may want, some of them you may want turned off. So the quick launch camera shortcut is actually in here. It's also in the camera, but you'll see there's a one-handed operation tool, which may be better for the S7 Edge than this phone, but essentially what that allows you to do is control your device with one hand. There's pop-up gesture, smart capture. So if we go into smart capture, I'll just show you this. That's that sort of settings in the bottom when we took a screenshot that allowed you to quickly edit and expand the screenshot you took and things like that. So I've left that on because I do like that. Palm swipe to capture is something I always turn off, but you may want on. It essentially allows you to swipe your palm across the screen to take a screenshot. It used to be really terrible, and so I've turned it off because pressing two buttons sometimes is much faster. Direct call is another one you may want to look at. Essentially, when you're looking at a contact who you may want to call, you just pick the phone up and put it to your ear, and it will start calling someone. And so there's a whole bunch of this stuff. Smart alert is actually one I leave on. So if your phone's been sitting on a table for a while and you missed a bunch of calls and texts and things like that, when you pick it up for the first time after it's been sitting there, it will actually do this little vibrate to let you know that, hey, you missed a bunch of stuff, which is kind of cool. But anyway, advanced features, really suggest you dive in there. For those of you worried about battery, if you go into battery, there are two power saving modes in here, and you may want to become familiar with these in case you're one of those people that's always stretching for that last percentage. So there's power saving mode, which limits device performance and vibration and restricts local services and things like that. It does let a lot of your most important stuff through, but you can see even here it says email, messages, and other apps that rely on syncing may not be updated unless you open them. So you may have to open apps and things like that in order to get notifications. This is option number one. If you're really, really not going to be near a power source for a long time, there is ultra power saving mode. And as the picture suggests, it turns your phone into an almost worthless state, but still is there in case you need to make that last second call or just get into sort of any emergency type of stuff. And it goes into this sort of grayscale mode. So it's not producing color. And it is an option. So you do have two ultra power saving modes. And then obviously you can check all of your battery stuff by just going into this battery usage and seeing which stuff is gobbling up all of your battery all day long. Another thing, and this is just sort of one of those etiquette things I would say for almost everyone, is in sounds and vibration, everyone please go down to touch sounds and turn that off. As you're using your phone throughout the day and in your office or at home and there's other people around, no one wants to hear every single touch you make on your phone. So please go ahead and turn that off. That would be great. One thing that Samsung does that I actually really appreciate is if you go into backup and reset, instead of just factory resetting your whole phone if you're having issues, they give you a couple of different options here. One is reset settings. And these are options there so you don't have to do a full factory reset, but you can still sort of wipe your phone in certain areas if you're having issues. So this resets a lot of things back to their default settings, except security language and account settings. But if there's customizations you've made, like ringtone and stuff like that, all of that goes away. So that's just an option in case you're just having some issues there with sounds or whatnot. Resetting network settings, though, is a little bit different, and it actually resets all the network settings for your Wi-Fi, your mobile data, and your Bluetooth. So if you're really having connection issues with your phone, rather than doing a full factory reset, maybe consider checking out this first. And basically, you just tap reset, and it walks through it, and it's much cleaner, or I should say simpler, than doing a whole reset and having to set your phone all the way back up. So last two here, one would be setting a third-party launcher. So as you can see, I'm running the TouchWiz launcher at the moment. I cannot stand the TouchWiz launcher. So what I would suggest is installing a third-party launcher that will get you all of the features you might need in a phone. And you get in there by going back into that default section and touching home screen, and then there's tons to download. The Google Now launcher is Google's and it's fantastic. I typically like Nova launcher. Another whole group of people loves Action launcher. Those are just three to potentially check out, but this is where you adjust that. And so now Nova launcher is set for me, and now I can get along using a phone the way I enjoy using it and setting up all my custom stuff. So, and then the final tip, which I think we do in every tips and tricks video, is showing you the Easter egg in case you're ever bored and need something to do. The Marshmallow Easter egg is a flappy bug droid. So I'm sorry, I didn't actually show you how to get in there, but if you go into your About device, tap on the Android version a whole bunch, it launches you into a secondary screen, and that's where you'll tap a few times to get to Marshmallow icon, and then long press on that, and that launches into Flappy Bug Droid. So it counts down, and you just tap the screen and see if you can get through the marshmallow heads. And on most videos, I get through about 0 of these. So the fact that I almost got to 3 is quite impressive. Anyway, that's just been 20 tips and tricks for your Galaxy S7, or in most cases S7 Edge outside of the Edge stuff. Hopefully that helps you get the most out of your phone. We will continue to share tips though throughout the year. So if you have comments, questions, let us know. Droid Life. Peace.